Hey, Wellness Crew. So, it's been just a minute. um, my son this week was in the hospital. So, he was just having his tonsils and adenoids removed and all that. Um, but it really made me think a lot about the idea of, healthy co-parenting. So, my both of my kids, I'm no longer with their fathers, and with my youngest, we have like a really good relationship. We're really good friends, and it's been close to a year since like post breakup or whatever, and he he's a really great dad and stuff. Well, when it came to my son's surgery, we were like, yeah, we're of course both going to be there. And we had to stay there overnight and stuff. And so, that's a lot of time to spend with a person. And the biggest thing and the main thing, of course, with all co-parenting, things is, even if you're with your partner or not or whatever, is keeping the child the priority, at all times. If you have a situation where things are a little bit more negative and not as a positive of a relationship, that would be the main thing. Just, keeping it child focused and, being in that kind of, mindset where, hey, like this has nothing to do with our previous relationship in any capacity. This has to do with our child. So let's keep it focused on there. Luckily, with me and his dad, we're still able to kind of joke around and, have fun and have a, good thing, even though we're obviously stressed. That's how we both kind of manifest our anxiety and worry, is by joking around and trying to laugh. And so it went really well. And I would hope and pray for everyone that you are able to have that same type of dynamic, in your co-parenting situation. I'm going to grab my vape real quick. Excuse me. um, so, but when it's not, it's a difficult thing. And you have to remember, it's so hard on the child. So this isn't going to be like a how-to on how to have like a good co-parenting situation. It's just going to be more like, I'm going to let you know about my experience, and hopefully you can gain something from that, or hopefully it'll help you with your current dynamic and your current situation. So always keeping things, again, child focused. And then if there's time when it's just you two, keeping things light, not talking about anything too heavy, not talking about anything too major, if that's not where you're at. If you're able to talk about, like more heavy stuff or whatever, awesome. Love that. That's great, but just remembering too, like, not to so much like go back on the relationship, but try to remember, like, okay, this is a person that I chose to have a child with, or that you had a child with, if you get what I'm saying. So that they do deserve, respect and appreciation, because look what you got out of it. You got your beautiful child or children or whatever. Always keeping it respectful as much as you possibly can, but honestly, ideally at all times. If you know this person, well, or you did know this person well, avoid any of the triggers, avoid any of the stuff that kind of like pisses them off, worries them, whatever. Especially with like our dynamic having to be in a hospital and, our child never being under anesthesia, um, never being on the kinds of meds that they had him on and all this kind of stuff. Um, just always humanizing that other person and remembering like, okay, yeah, you're going through all this and it's hard on you, but you need to remember it's hard on that person as well. So when parents are fighting and stuff like that too, or parents are, there's like a lot of tension, the child picks up on that so much. And it was so wonderful to see our son. He was just like, prior to his surgery, when we're in the pre-op, stage, he was so happy to see mommy and daddy together. He was so happy to see, all that kind of stuff. And again, it's because we get along very well. There's no animosity, there's no anything. And that's the healthiest thing for the child. Now, I'm not saying you have to be joking around like I'm able to, right? And I'm not saying that you have to, be perfect or anything like that. But again, you want your kid to see a healthy relationship regardless, even if you're just putting up a front, because sometimes you just got to, right? Even if it's just that, do it. Try to be cognizant of your body language and your facial expressions and all that, because your kids will pick up on it. And, again, keeping it light, keeping everything just as normal as possible. Communication is super important. Now, there's obviously certain situations, ones where maybe there was domestic abuse or violence or things like that. That's a whole different story, and it's not my story. So, with that, so I'm not going to kind of delve too much into that. I'm just going to say, obviously, do all the things that you need to do to keep yourself safe. Whether it's, just switching off who, in a situation like that, switching off who's in the room when, all that kind of stuff. But do everything, for safety. This is more about people that, don't have that kind of unfortunate relationship baggage and stuff like that. But yeah, like our son, I could just, it was just to him a big deal, because there's not like a huge distance issue, but just the place in Texas and where we live. Technically, yes, it is different cities. We're not like super far away or anything, but that's why we don't see each other all the time. We switch off our son, and that's kind of how we do it. But we maintain a great friendship. We text, we talk, whether it's about our child or not. Even, it can be about other stuff too. And, I always come at it from a point of, this is someone that, will always mean a lot to me. And so even if it's, doing stuff to try to help them in whatever aspect that may be, super important. Again, you want to have a positive interaction every time if you can, and being able then to also, especially when it comes to medical stuff, right? A great idea is, if you're living in two separate households, get 2 copies of everything from the doctor or hospital or whatever, so that way for like aftercare, like y'all both are on the same page, you both have the same, stuff. I requested that at the hospital. That was something that was not, I guess, not asked for a lot. You could tell like this was something that they really didn't get requested a lot of. They assumed we were together, so we were just like, well, we live in separate households, so if we could please, if I could please also have a second copy. And it just makes things easier as far as like transitional care and all of those things. Our son is going to need to have a few doses of a particular medication. And so, we have to, like, when we do our handoff, like, okay, it's going to be on this day and that day and that day and whatever, right? And, again, child focused, but if it's been time, if you've been able to kind of like go through everything and all that and kind of like come out the other side, definitely maintain a positive relationship with that person. You had a child with them, and the rest of your life, you're going to be connected. So just kind of keeping all those little things in mind, I think really help when it comes to that co-parenting dynamic, and, not worrying about like those little like silly things, like, oh, well, I got those shoes and I want them back. Like all that stuff is so crazy, right? It's like, the best thing is to be able to share, because you're going to be sharing your child too. If you're not together, you're going to be sharing your child. Obviously clothes and toys and all that kind of stuff. Like both households are going to have that, but don't get tripped up on things like that. It's something that I've had other people that I know kind of talk about, and I just kind of think to myself, like, the real me, the authentic me wants to just be like, that's incredibly petty. But I also understand, especially if it's like there's budgetary type of things or not a lot of child support, or, whatever type of situation. We're in a dynamic where we don't have to worry about those kinds of things. But I understand coming from that point. So I would just say, just try not to then make the request that you get certain shoes or clothes or whatever back. Just try not to, have an attitude about it. Try to find a way to word it kindly and in a nice way. Again, because all of these things affect your child. Maybe they're not going to see your texts. Maybe they're not going to hear your calls. Maybe all that. Maybe that's true. But just for the sake of maintaining a positive environment, I believe very strongly in energies and all that. Children pick up on them incredibly, incredibly quick. So, you want the vibe to be as positive as it possibly can be. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean, all of that. But when you're able to, keep the focus on, okay, this is, yes, our child. So both of, and you guys want to be on the same page with as many things as possible. When it comes to, I know one thing that was brought up by someone to me was, vaccines and all that kind of stuff. I personally don't think that the recommended age for the Gardasil shot is appropriate. I think it's way too young. I mean, children that at that age that they're saying, oh, it's going to prevent. Okay. But if you know your child and you feel a certain way, there's nothing wrong with that. and have these conversations, in a non like heated, way. Like, just be like, hey, this is how I'm feeling about this, because even when it came to the surgery, I was very uncomfortable about it because to me, excuse me, I thought, oh my gosh, he's, our child is not even 3 yet. He's going to not be able to communicate with us, if something's wrong, in a very specific way, basically. Like, he would, of course, he's going to be able to, we'll know when he's in pain, we'll know when this and that, but, he won't be able to say, oh, it hurts specifically, where here, all that kind of stuff. Well, I left the decision to his father as to whether to do the surgery now or to wait. And we kept seeing our kid getting sick, and so his father decided to go ahead and go with the surgery, finding out afterwards the amount of blockage that the tonsils and adenoids were causing for his breathing. I mean, he had his nose, like for his nose, it was insane. The number that they told us, I mean, I'm just like, oh my gosh. So if you're able to trust the person that you're co-parenting with, if you're able to trust them with these types of things, definitely have a discussion and be like, look, this is how I feel, but ultimately I'm going to let you make the call or whatever, if you feel led to do that. If you feel like you need something else, a second opinion, whatever, okay, then that's your route. My route was, I trust the person that I, had my second child with, and trusted his judgment, and it turned out that he was right, and this was the right call for us. So that's not always easy to do in every situation. It's not always, something that, you're able to be a participant in for various reasons. I understand relationships are difficult. Relationships are different. And I'm not saying it's always easy. I'm just saying when it comes to co-parenting, we just want to always remember, like, it's about the child. It's not about the past history of whatever happened to cause the end of the relationship or whatever. And it is something that is just it's just so important to, again, maintain that, even if it has to be a veneer sometimes. It didn't for me, but if it does have to be for you, just that positive energy, that, all that stuff when you're around your child with that person, because they will feel it, they'll sense it. And especially prior to going into surgery and all that, I felt like it was really important. We stayed there, like I said, overnight. So the great thing about that is we were able to tag team, right? So we were able to tag team if we needed to call a nurse. We were able to tag team, watching him if, one of us had to use the bathroom, whatever, So it's just important to make the attempt. If it's unsuccessful, it's unsuccessful. I can only speak from my own experience, but it was a great positive experience for us. But again, we're friends, and we're good with each other, and we know how each other is. And so yeah, I mean, if you can just try to make the attempt, then that's the most important thing. If there is, any complications, anything difficult, if there's any abuse, obviously, you need to get a hold of someone. Do not allow yourself to be bullied or abused or hurt in any capacity. Do not put yourself in an unsafe situation. Always make sure that your situation is as safe as possible. Your well-being is super important, just like your child's well-being is super important. So, if you're in one of those types of situations, trust your gut and do the best thing for you and your child. Absolutely. But if, you are able to have a good relationship and, things are good, that's awesome. It's great for your child. It's great for their development. It's great for them to see a positive relationship regardless if it's romantic or not. Seeing a positive relationship, seeing, good communication, these are skills that your children will pick up on, that they're going to see it. They're going to, they're going to kind of know, and they're going to carry this with them into the future, so, even if our child doesn't remember this whole thing at 2 years old, as he gets older, he's going to definitely see the dynamic between mom and dad, and they're the most important thing. So regardless of, whatever has happened, just understand that, you want to put on a brave front and do the right thing, unless it's a dangerous or, some type of unsafe type of thing. And if there needs to be, something else called in, another person called in, some type of intermediary, whatever the case may be, do it. Absolutely. So please do not forget to like and subscribe and or follow. I appreciate so much everyone for watching, and from my clients, thank you for the well wishes for his surgery. It means the world to me, and I will catch y'all on the next video.